Welcome back, boxing fans, to another installment of Corner to Corner Boxing. Today we'll be discussing Saturday's upcoming fights. On DAZN, we have Anthony Joshua, former two-time heavyweight champion, returning to the ring. And on ESPN Plus, his main event, we have an all-Mexican showdown and a potential fight of the year between Oscar Valdez and Emanuel Navarette. Let's jump into it.
I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me.
Like a lot of boxing fans, I was really looking forward to Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte's rematch. The first fight was an absolute banger. It was fireworks. It ended in a stoppage. You know, you got two big boys in there that can crack and love to bang it out. It was a recipe for, a fun heavyweight fight. Unfortunately, a couple of days ago, Dillian Whyte was pulled out of the match. He failed a surprise VADA drug test. And they didn't disclose exactly what drug he popped for, but they quoted adverse analytical findings, and that was enough to cancel the fight. This isn't nothing new for Dillian Whyte, unfortunately. This is his third doping scandal. He was actually suspended for 2 years in 2012 after a failed drug test. Luckily for him, he was able to appeal and get that suspension overturned. He also had another failed drug test back in 2019. So unfortunately for everybody involved, the fans, Anthony Joshua, this fight just, fell apart literally at the last minute. Luckily for Anthony Joshua, they were able to find a really game and a great replacement in Robert Helenius. And this guy is turning around quick. He literally fought 5 days ago. As of today, he fought on Thursday, August the 3rd in Sweden. It was a tune-up fight after the Deontay Wilder loss back in October 22 of 2022. He fought an 8-rounder, TKO'd his opponent in 3 rounds. So hopefully he's in shape. He's coming off a good camp for that, and he didn't wear himself out too much in that 3-round fight. I'm a big fan of Robert Helenius, especially the last couple of years. He's an older heavyweight, but he's had a late career resurgence. Back in 2020 and in 2021, he knocked out top 10 heavyweight babyface Adam Kownacki. Like I said, in back-to-back fights, he stopped them in 2 fights. And, anybody that remembers, back then Adam Kownacki was stopping everybody. He was a great prospect, fun guy to fight, or fun guy to watch fight. And Robert, came in and stopped him twice. After that, he got the Deontay Wilder fight. He was stopped in 1 round. But look, this guy, like the way that his career is ending, man, it seems like he's doing it all to try to get into Valhalla. He's essentially going off of 2 Adam Kownacki fights to Wilder to basically Anthony Joshua right after that. So hats off to him, man. The guy is a true Viking warrior, like he described himself. Tail of the tape. Like I said, this fight is Saturday in London. If you're in the United States like myself, I'm on the West Coast in California. The main event's scheduled to start around 2 p.m. Pacific time. On the East Coast, it'll probably start around 5 p.m. It'll be on DAZN. And for anybody that listens, that's listened to my previous podcast, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of DAZN's production. I think that they have a lot of problems with their production in general. I'm not a fan of their commentating team. Their business model with the subscription fee changes over the last couple of years. However, I'll give credit when credit is due. This is a non-pay-per-view card. It's free if you have a subscription with DAZN. And there's 4 heavyweight fights on this card, including the main event. I think one of the fights has Derek Chisora in there. So look, when you have 8 big boys scheduled to go at it on any card, that's a card you probably want to watch, because you're going to most likely see some knockouts. But main event, tail of the tape, we have Anthony Joshua. Like I said, former 2-time heavyweight champion. This is a really important fight for him. He's trying to get back into the mix, hopefully set up a fight with Wilder, Usyk, Fury. There's a lot of fights he can set up. He's coming off 2 back-to-back losses against Alexander Fury, or Usyk, I'm sorry. He had a tune-up fight a couple of months ago. But, this is a real test. Robert Helenius is literally a last-minute replacement. But as anybody that's watched boxing or just combat sports long enough, those last-minute replacements can really cause problems, because you've been training for one particular style or one particular guy for, 6-8 weeks in camp, and then last minute you get thrown a curveball and you have to deal with a guy with a completely different style. So I wouldn't write off Robert Helenius. I do think Anthony Joshua is the favorite. I do expect him to win. However, this is a very important fight for his career. He is 33 years old, stands 6 foot 6 inches with an 82-inch reach. He has a great record of 25 wins, 3 defeats, and 22 knockouts. Robert Helenius, he's 39. Like I said, he's at the tail end of his career, but he's had a great resurgence, and he's as game as they come. He stands 6 foot 6.5 inches with a 79-inch reach. He also has a wonderful record at 32 wins, 4 defeats, and 21 knockouts. So I expect this fight to be a good fight. Again, we're dealing with a really last-minute replacement, but when you get a guy like Helenius, it's as good as you're going to get. And then the card itself, like I said, you have 4 heavyweight fights, 8 big boys going at it, so I think it'll be a fun card overall. Moving on to to Oscar Valdez versus Emanuel Navarette. Like I said, this is an all-Mexican showdown. I think the fight is being billed as the Battle for Mexico. I would bet money that this fight is going to be in the Fight of the Year contention. These styles are just going to match, and it's going to spell fireworks. You got 2 guys that, love to come forward. They're both very offensive-minded. They both love to throw hooks. Everything just is leading me to think that this is going to be a great fight. I'm definitely not going to miss it. This fight is on ESPN Plus. It's like I said, it's in Arizona. The main event is scheduled to start around 8 p.m. Pacific time or 11 p.m. Eastern time, depending on where you're at. We have Oscar Valdez, 32 years old, standing 5 feet 7 inches with a 66-inch reach. Great record, 31 wins, 1 defeat, and 23 knockouts. That 1 defeat came against Shakur Stevenson. Shakur is a lot of people have him in their top 10 pound for pound. I don't know if I would put him in there just yet, but he's certainly a future pound for pound star and a great prospect as it is right now. So losing to him is definitely nothing to hang your head on. Oscar Valdez is a 2-division champion. He was a champion at feather and super featherweight. We have Emanuel Navarette. He's 28 years old, standing 5 feet 7 inches with a 72-inch reach advantage. He also has a wonderful record with 37 victories, only 1 defeat, and 31 knockouts. He's a 3-division champion. He's held titles at junior featherweight, and is currently the super featherweight champion. So this fight is a defense of his WBO super featherweight title. As you can tell, I'm not going to go into breaking down these fights like I did for Inoue Fulton or Spence Crawford. One, because there was two main events, going on this weekend, and two, these styles are just really hard to break down. And quite honestly, it's pretty difficult to sit there and analyze um, what these guys uh, what these guys do well or what they don't do well. This is one of those fights that I really just want to sit back. Obviously, this podcast or YouTube channel, wherever you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, is, I'm not a journalist. This is more of a fan forum. I'm giving you my opinion on these fights, but I feel that when I overanalyze these fights, sometimes it can take some of the fun out of it, right? And this is one of those fights that I really just want to sit back and enjoy the show. I don't want to have anything on the line. I'll give you a prediction. My humble prediction, which as we know, I wouldn't bet money on it because it could go either way. But I did outline a couple of paths to victory for these guys. So starting with Oscar Valdez, uh, he's a very talented fighter. He comes out of, he's being trained by Henry Reynoso. He's in Canelo's camp. Uh, everything that comes out of that camp says that he's a very dedicated fighter, and he really tries to do his best to get better every fight. I think he needs to be creative with his offense. He tends to throw a lot of hooks or a lot of straight punches. I akin it to, like, if you've ever played video games, he kind of spams the button, where he'll just let off 3-4 hooks or 3-4 straight punches, and there's not a lot of variety there. He just kind of picks a punch and just, like I said, spams it. I don't think that's going to work. I mean, it won't work against a lot of top level guys, but other than it not working and making your offense predictable, it opens you up to getting countered and getting hit with something that you don't see coming. So he needs to be creative in this fight. He has a great jab. Uh, what he needs to do is throw it more than once. He tends to throw it one at a time. It's a very it's like a shotgun jab, right? It's a power jab. However, like I said, he rarely doubles up on it. And again, he needs to give his opponent different looks. And like most fighters, when his jab is on point, so is his offense. Valdez has a great and wide variety of skills. We've seen him counterpunch. We've seen him play great defense. He has great head movement. We talked about his offense. It can be very singular, but when it's when he puts creative combinations together, it's beautiful to watch. However, there hasn't really been a fight where we've seen him put all these skills together. It seems like he might work on one thing in camp. Maybe he works on his counterpunching more. Maybe he works on his defense more or his offense, whatever it is. And he comes into that fight, and that's all he does. That's all he uses. I would like to see him put all those skills on display in this fight. And I think it'll pay dividends. This guy was, he's a former two-time champion, and for a reason. But I don't think we've seen his full potential yet because, like I said, he has these isolated skills that, when put together, will create just better synergy in his game overall. Navarrete, he has about a 6-inch reach advantage. And I think it's even more than that because this guy is just a really lanky, tall guy. Like, he just throws these wide looping hooks. So Valdez needs to use his lateral movement and keep him off balance, right? Like, Navarrete is kind of a plotter. He plods forward. He throws these, like I said, wide, lanky uppercuts, hooks, whatever punch he's throwing. They don't seem like they have much on it, but he has so much leverage because his arms are so long that they do damage. if he can use lateral movement, set up shots like he did against Berchel, I think he has a great opportunity to catch him in between shots and maybe even knock him out. We've seen him have one punch knockout power at this weight or in this weight range. So I think that would be smart of him to do. Moving on to Emanuel Navarette, like we said, he has a 6-inch reach advantage, tall, lanky guy, very awkward fighter, which, when you're a counter puncher and you're looking to predict, you're looking to time somebody, awkward fighters are usually the worst kind of guys to try to counter because you have no idea what they're going to do, right? Like I said, he has these really long looping shots. He doesn't look really intimidating. Like he has a weird body type, like real skinny. But like I said, he generates a lot of torque with these punches because his arms are so long and his shots are so, they're coming from such long distance that by the time they get there, they're hurting you. So I think what Emanuel Navarrete needs to do is he needs to use that to his advantage. He needs to keep Valdez, in the second level, keep him at a distance where he can leverage those looping, lanky shots. We talked about Valdez using lateral movement. I think Emanuel Navarrete, we talked about him being a plotter. He plots forward. I would like to see him cut off the ring and limit the opportunities that Valdez has to use his lateral movement. Maybe get him against the ropes, use those long, lanky shots to either land or break his guard and open up other opportunities. He needs to stay focused. I noticed, especially when he gets inside, like it's kind of hard to say. Like I'm going to contradict myself a little bit because Emanuel Navarrete never gets flustered. Like I've never seen him get flustered, even when he's in the middle of a firefight. He seems to keep his composure, but there are lapses in judgment. I've noticed that, especially on the inside, he tends to stand straight up. He's vertical, right? And anybody that understands footwork or boxing in general knows that when you're standing straight up, you're more prone to being off balance, right? And you give your opponent a bigger target. You know what I mean? Touches your chin, touches your temple, or something like that. It could lead to a knockdown or worse. So what I mean by stay focused is, stick to the game plan. We talked about Emanuel not being a very orthodox fighter, so I don't know if fundamentals is the right word to use here. However, remember those boxing ABCs, right? Keep a low center of gravity. Keep your balance and maintain distance. So, this was a quick and dirty paths to victory breakdown of the second fight. I didn't want to break down the Anthony Joshua Helenius fight because, it's just such a last minute replacement. It's very difficult to predict what that fight's, what's going to happen in that fight. But predictions for both fights, I think I said it earlier. I think that Anthony Joshua, he's coming off a couple of losses. The last couple of years haven't been too kind to him. However, I think he's still, a top 5 heavyweight in the world. I think he's very talented. And he says he's hungry. He says he's laser focused. He's with the new camp with Derek James. We'll see what that leads to, but I expect him to win against a tough game opponent, Robert Helenius. So my prediction for Anthony Joshua versus Helenius is Anthony Joshua. I don't know if he knocks him out. Let's go by knockout. So Anthony Joshua by knockout is my prediction. And we have Oscar Valdez and Emanuel Navarrete. Dude, I fucking have no idea. This is just it's one of those fights that's, again, like it's gonna be a firefight. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, you have a really awkward guy in there, Navarrete. I am leaning towards Oscar Valdez. He has, um, a better resume overall. He has a better, better fundamentals, a great camp, a great trainer, um, and uh, and just better opposition. You know, he's been in there against guys like Shakur Stevenson, Conceição, Scott Quigg. You know, he has a good resume. Where I would say that he is the toughest guy that Emanuel Navarrete has fought. However, when you got a fucking awkward guy like Navarrete and he's super game and he can crack, you really have no idea what's going to happen. But for the sake of a prediction, I'm going to go Oscar Valdez. I want to say knockout, but I don't know if it'll be a knockout. I think it's going to be a decision. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a knockout, though. Just putting that out there. But for my official prediction, I'll go with Oscar Valdez by decision. So we'll see. We'll see how those play out. Thank you for tuning in. This has been another installment of Corner to Corner Boxing, where we cover all angles